The morning shift began like any other aboard the Imperial Dreadnought Dominion's Fist. Commander Zix-9 walked onto the bridge, his blue-scaled hands adjusting the ceremonial sash that marked his rank in the Galactic Empire's fleet. The ship hummed with the steady rhythm of its massive engines as it patrolled the outer edges of Imperial space. "Status report," Commander Zix-9 said to his bridge crew. His voice carried the authority of someone who had spent 30 years keeping the peace in this sector of the galaxy. Senior Sensor Operator Vex looked up from her station. Her four eyes blinked in sequence as she read the displays. "All quiet. Sir? Standard traffic patterns. 3 merchant vessels passed through the jump point 6 hours ago. Nothing unusual. The Dominion's Fist was one of 50 ships that patrolled the Empire's borders every day. For over 2,000 years, these patrols had kept order in the galaxy. Every ship, every civilization, every trade route was known and recorded. The Empire's database contained information about millions of vessels and thousands of different species. Commander Zix-9 settled into his command chair and began reading the daily reports. Mining operations were running smoothly on the outer worlds. Tax collections were on schedule. The rebel groups that sometimes caused trouble had been quiet for months. It was shaping up to be another peaceful day. That changed at exactly 0847 hours. "Sir!" Vex's voice cracked with excitement. "I'm detecting something unusual. Very unusual." Commander Zix-9 looked up from his reports. In 30 years of service, he had never heard that tone in Vex's voice. "What is it?" "There's a vessel approaching from the unknown regions. It's moving at incredible speed, sir. Faster than anything I've ever seen." The bridge fell silent. The unknown regions were the empty spaces between galaxies where nothing was supposed to exist. No civilization had ever come from there. No ship had ever returned from there. "Show me," Commander Zix-9 ordered. The main screen flickered to life. At first there was nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then Vex adjusted the sensors and a shape appeared. It was small at first, just a dot moving against the star field. But as they watched, it grew larger and clearer. The ship was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It was sleek and elegant, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. Its hull was a strange dark color that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No matter how Vex adjusted the sensors, she couldn't get a clear reading of its size or construction. "How fast is it moving?" Commander Zix-9 asked. Vex's hands moved over her controls. Her expression grew more confused with each reading. "Sir, according to my instruments, it's traveling at 0.7 light speed. That should be impossible." Commander Zix-9 stood up. The fastest ships in the Imperial fleet could reach 0.4 light speed, and only for short periods. This vessel was moving at nearly twice that speed and showing no signs of slowing down. "Run a full database scan," he ordered. "I want to know everything about that ship." The ship's computer began searching through millions of records. It compared the vessel's shape, size, and energy signature against every known design in the galaxy. The search continued for several minutes, while the bridge crew watched the mysterious ship grow larger on their screens. Finally, the computer finished its search. The result appeared on Commander Zix-9's personal display in bright red letters. "No match found." "No match?" Commander Zix-9 said. "That's impossible. Every ship in the galaxy is in our database." "Sir," Vex said, her voice getting higher. "It's changing course. It's heading directly for us." The bridge crew watched as the unknown vessel adjusted its path. It moved with impossible grace, turning without any visible effort or loss of speed. The ship's movements were so smooth that it seemed more like a living creature than a machine. "Battle stations," Commander Zix-9 ordered. "All hands to battle stations." Red lights flashed throughout the ship as the crew prepared for possible combat. The Dominion's Fist was a powerful warship, armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. But Commander Zix-9 had never faced an enemy whose capabilities were completely unknown. "Sir," the communications officer reported. "I'm receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it through," Commander Zix-9 said. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice spoke. but it was in a language that no one on the bridge recognized. The words were soft and musical, completely different from the harsh consonants of most galactic languages. "Computer, translate," Commander Zix-9 ordered. Unable to translate, the computer replied. "Language not found in database." The voice continued speaking for several more seconds, then stopped. The bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. "Sir," Vex said, "the unknown vessel has stopped. It's holding position about 1 million kilometers away." Commander Zix-9 studied the image on the main screen. The ship hung in space like a dark jewel against the stars. It made no threatening moves, but its very presence was disturbing. How could a ship exist that wasn't in the Imperial database? How could a species develop faster than light travel without the Empire knowing about it? "Open a channel," he ordered. "Standard first contact protocol." The communications officer activated the ship's transmission system. Commander Zix-9 cleared his throat and began speaking in Imperial Standard, the language used for all official communications in the galaxy. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Zix-9 of the Imperial Dreadnought Dominion's Fist. You have entered Imperial space without permission. State your identity and purpose." For a moment, there was no response. Then the unknown ship's transmission system activated again. This time the voice that spoke was different. It was clearer and more confident, but still speaking the unknown language. "Sir," the communications officer said, "I'm getting some kind of response, but it's still in that unknown language. Wait, there's something else. The ship is transmitting data on multiple frequencies. It looks like they're trying to establish a translation protocol." Commander Zix-9 watched as symbols and numbers appeared on his screen. The unknown ship was sending mathematical equations, scientific constants, and basic pictographs. It was clearly an attempt to create a common language for communication. "Clever," he said quietly. "They're trying to build a translation matrix from scratch." The process continued for several minutes. The unknown ship sent increasingly complex information, building from simple mathematics to more advanced concepts. The Imperial computer worked to decode the patterns and create a basic translation program. Finally, the communications officer looked up. "Sir, I think we have a basic translation capability. It's not perfect, but we should be able to understand each other." "Good," Commander Zix-9 said. "Open the channel again." This time, when the unknown ship responded, the computer was able to translate the words. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and friendly. "Greetings from the crew of the UES Pathfinder. I am Captain Jake Morrison. We come in peace from the planet Earth. We are explorers seeking to make contact with other civilizations. We mean no harm to you or your people." Commander Zix-9 felt a chill run down his spine. The planet Earth was not in the Imperial database. The United Earth Service was unknown. This Captain Morrison was claiming to represent a civilization that shouldn't exist. "Captain Morrison," Commander Zix-9 replied. "I am Commander Zix-9 of the Galactic Empire. You have entered Imperial space without authorization. We have no record of your planet or your people in our database." There was a pause before Captain Morrison responded. "We apologize for any misunderstanding, Commander. We are not familiar with your empire or your territorial claims. We are simply explorers from Earth, seeking to learn about the galaxy and its inhabitants. We would be happy to discuss our presence here and find a peaceful solution." Commander Zix-9 looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him with confusion and concern. In 2,000 years of galactic history, no unknown civilization had ever appeared in Imperial space. The Empire had mapped every star system, cataloged every species, and recorded every ship. The idea that an entire civilization could exist without their knowledge was impossible. But the ship on his main screen was very real. It was more advanced than anything in the Imperial fleet, and it came from a place called Earth that didn't exist in any official records. "Sir," Vex whispered, "what are your orders?" Commander Zix-9 stared at the unknown ship. For the first time in his 30-year career, he didn't know what to do. The situation was beyond anything he had been trained for. He was facing the impossible, and he had no idea what it might mean for the Empire. Send an emergency transmission to Imperial Command, he said finally. Tell them we have a situation that requires immediate attention, and tell them to send more ships, lots more ships. As the transmission went out, Commander Zix-9 continued to stare at the mysterious vessel. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he had the feeling that this moment would change everything. The galaxy had just become a much more dangerous and uncertain place. Admiral Thex Prime received the emergency transmission while reviewing fleet deployment reports in his private office aboard Imperial Command Central. The massive space station hung in orbit around the Empire's capital world, its gleaming towers reaching out like metallic fingers into the void of space. The Admiral's 6 arms moved quickly across multiple control panels as he read Commander Zix-9's report. His compound eyes widened with each line of text. An unknown vessel. Technology beyond Imperial capabilities. A species called humans from a planet called Earth. None of it made sense. Impossible, Admiral Thex Prime muttered to himself. He had commanded Imperial fleets for over 50 years. He knew every ship design, every species, every technological capability in the galaxy. The Empire's records were complete and perfect. They had to be. He activated his personal communicator and contacted Chief Researcher Nick 7 at the Imperial Science Division. The holographic image of the elderly scientist appeared above his desk, her pale features creased with concern. Admiral, Nick 7 said, I've already received the preliminary data from the Dominion's Fist. This is highly unusual. The energy readings from this unknown vessel are unlike anything in our databases. Explain, Admiral Thex Prime ordered. The ship appears to be generating power at levels that exceed our largest battle stations. The energy signature suggests some form of advanced matter-antimatter reaction, but the efficiency rates are impossible according to our understanding of physics. Admiral Thex Prime leaned back in his chair. The Empire's power generation technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. Their fusion reactors and antimatter systems had been perfected over centuries of research and development. No civilization had ever demonstrated superior energy technology. What about the ship's construction materials? He asked. The hull composition is completely unknown, Nick 7 replied. Our sensors can't penetrate it. The material seems to absorb our scanning beams rather than reflect them. It's as if the ship is designed to be invisible to our technology. And the speed capabilities? 0.7 light speed in open space. Our fastest ships can barely reach 0.4, and only for short distances. This vessel appears to maintain that speed without any strain on its systems. Admiral Thex Prime stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over the capital world. Millions of lights twinkled on the planet's surface, representing the billions of citizens who depended on the Empire's protection and stability. The thought that an unknown civilization with superior technology could threaten that stability was deeply disturbing. Prepare a full battle fleet, he ordered. I want our best ships and our most experienced commanders. We're going to make contact with these humans ourselves. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Pathfinder, Captain Jake Morrison was holding his own emergency meeting with his senior staff. The ship's main conference room was smaller than the Imperial bridge they had just spoken to, but it contained some of the most advanced technology Earth had ever produced. So, we've made contact with something called the Galactic Empire, Captain, Morrison said, looking around the table at his officers. They seem surprised that we exist. Chief Engineer Lisa Chen pulled up a holographic display showing the Imperial ship they had encountered. Their technology is interesting, but not particularly advanced. Their fusion drives are at least 2 centuries behind our quantum systems. Their hull materials are standard metal alloys. What about their weapons? Asked Security Chief Maria. Santos, basic energy weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, nothing we haven't seen before. Their shields are simple electromagnetic barriers. Our defensive system should be able to handle anything they can throw at us. Navigation Officer Danny Rodriguez was studying the star charts they had gathered from the Imperial transmissions. Captain, according to their data, this galactic empire controls thousands of star systems. They've been the dominant power in this region for over 2,000 years. 2,000 years, Captain Morrison repeated. That's a long time to be in charge. They must be doing something right. Dr. Alan Foster, the ship's language specialist, looked up from his translation work. I've been analyzing their communication patterns. Their language is very formal and hierarchical. They seem to have a strict military structure with clear chains of command. They also appear to be genuinely shocked that we exist. Shocked how? Captain Morrison asked. They keep referring to their databases and records. They seem to believe they have complete information about every civilization in the galaxy. Our existence challenges that belief. Communications Officer Karen Walsh activated her station. Captain, I'm receiving another transmission from the Imperial ship. They're requesting permission to send a delegation aboard our vessel. Captain? Morrison considered this. Earth's first contact protocols were clear about the importance of peaceful communication with alien civilizations. At the same time, he had to consider the safety of his crew and the security of Earth's technology. Tell them we're willing to meet, but we suggest a neutral location. We can arrange for representatives from both ships to meet in spacesuits, halfway between our vessels. The response came quickly. Commander Zix-9 agreed to the meeting, though he seemed confused by the suggestion. Apparently, the Empire was used to conducting all diplomatic meetings aboard their own ships. 2 hours later, Captain Morrison found himself floating in space between the two vessels, accompanied by Dr. Foster and Security Chief Santos. They wore Earth's latest spacesuits, which were so advanced they looked more like second skins than protective gear. Commander Zix-9 approached with 2 of his own officers. Their spacesuits were bulky and primitive by human standards, but they seemed to work well enough. The Imperial commander was clearly nervous about meeting in open space. Captain Morrison, Commander Zix-9 said through the radio link, "This is highly unusual. Diplomatic meetings are normally conducted in controlled environments." "We prefer to meet on equal terms," Captain Morrison replied. "Besides, space is beautiful, don't you think?" The Imperial commander looked around at the stars and the 2 ships hanging in the void. "I suppose it is. I had never considered it from this perspective. Commander, we need to understand the situation we've found ourselves in. We had no idea that this region of space was claimed by your empire. We're explorers from Earth, seeking to learn about the galaxy and make peaceful contact with other civilizations." "That's what troubles me, Captain. How is it possible that we have no record of your species or your planet?" "The Empire has been mapping the galaxy for 2 millennia. Every star system, every planet, every form of life has been cataloged and recorded." Dr. Foster spoke up. "Perhaps your records are not as complete as you believe. The galaxy is a very large place. There could be many civilizations that have developed without your knowledge." Commander Zix-9's suit sensors detected the subtle threat in those words. "Are you suggesting that there are other unknown civilizations like yours?" "We're not suggesting anything," Captain Morrison said quickly. "We're simply saying that the galaxy is full of surprises. We're as surprised to meet you as you are to meet us." The conversation continued for over an hour. The Imperial commander asked detailed questions about Earth's location, technology, and intentions. Captain Morrison answered honestly but carefully, revealing enough information to show good faith while protecting Earth's security interests. Finally, Commander Zix-9 asked the question that had been troubling him most. "Captain, your ship demonstrates technology that is far beyond anything in our databases. Your engines, your hull materials, your energy systems, all of it is more advanced than our own. How is this possible?" Captain Morrison chose his words carefully. "Commander, every civilization develops differently. We've focused heavily on scientific research and technological advancement. Perhaps your empire has focused on other priorities. Our priorities have been maintaining order and stability in the galaxy. We have prevented wars, protected trade routes, and ensured peace between thousands of different species." "That's admirable," Captain Morrison said. "But while you've been maintaining order, we've been pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We've had to. Earth is isolated, far from other civilizations. We've had to become self-sufficient in every way." "Commander," Zix-9 was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, I must ask, are there other ships like yours? Other human vessels with similar capabilities?" "The Pathfinder is an exploration vessel," Captain Morrison replied. "We have other ships, but they serve different purposes. How many other ships? Captain Morrison smiled inside his helmet. Enough to defend ourselves if necessary, but we hope that won't be required. We prefer peace to conflict. The meeting ended with an agreement to continue communications while both sides consulted with their respective governments. As they prepared to return to their ships, Commander Zix-9 made one final observation. Captain, you realize that your arrival changes everything. The Empire has ruled this galaxy for 2,000 years, based on the assumption that we were the most advanced civilization. If that assumption is wrong, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. Commander, Captain Morrison replied, change isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary for growth. Director Pex 4 had never seen Imperial Command in such chaos. The normally quiet halls of the Intelligence Division buzzed with activity as agents rushed between offices carrying data tablets and classified reports. Every communication channel was active, every database was being searched, and every contact in the galaxy was being questioned. The director stood in the main operations center, watching dozens of screens that showed the progress of the largest investigation in Imperial history. 3 days had passed since the first contact with the humans, and the results of their search were deeply troubling. Report, Director Pex 4 said to his chief analyst. Agent Kex 12 looked up from her workstation. Her normally calm demeanor showed signs of stress. Sir, we've contacted every known civilization in the galaxy. We've searched every trade database, every exploration record, every military intelligence file. No one has ever heard of humans or Earth. That's impossible, Director Pex 4 said. A civilization advanced enough to build ships like the Pathfinder doesn't just appear overnight. They must have had contact with someone. Sir, we've even contacted the Wanderer fleets and the Deep Space Hermits. These are beings who spend their entire lives traveling between star systems. If anyone would have encountered humans, it would be them. They know nothing. Director Pex 4 walked to the main display screen, which showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of red dots marking contacted civilizations. Every single one had reported the same thing. No knowledge of humans or Earth. What about the ship itself? What have our technical analysts discovered? Agent Kex 12 activated another screen. The data from the Dominion's fist shows technology that challenges our understanding of physics. The humans appear to have solved problems that our scientists considered impossible, such as their quantum drive system operates on principles we don't understand. Our best physicists have studied the energy readings, and they believe the humans have found a way to manipulate space-time itself. This would explain how they can travel at such incredible speeds. Director Pex 4 felt a chill run through his body. The Empire's faster-than-light travel relied on jump gates and established hyperspace routes. If the humans could manipulate space-time directly, they could travel anywhere in the galaxy without using Imperial infrastructure. What else? Their hull material appears to be some form of adaptive matter. It responds to sensor scans by changing its properties. This makes it nearly impossible to analyze or target with weapons. And their power systems? Beyond anything we've seen. The energy output from their ship suggests they have access to zero-point energy or matter conversion on a scale we considered theoretical. Director Pex 4 studied the data for several minutes. Each piece of information painted a picture of a civilization that had developed along completely different lines than any known species. While the Empire had focused on expansion and control, these humans had apparently focused on pure technological advancement. Meanwhile, aboard the Pathfinder, Chief Engineer Lisa Chen was conducting her own investigation. Captain Morrison had agreed to allow Imperial observers to monitor their routine operations, hoping to build trust between the two civilizations. Lisa worked at the quantum drive control panel, making standard adjustments to the ship's power systems. The work was routine for her, but she could see the Imperial technical observer, Engineer Vox 8, watching her every move with growing amazement. The quantum field generators are running at optimal efficiency, Lisa said, speaking into her personal recorder. No adjustments needed to the space-time manipulation matrix. Engineer Vox 8 stepped closer. Excuse me, Engineer Chen. Did you say space-time manipulation? Lisa looked up from her work. Yes, that's how our quantum drive works. We create controlled distortions in space-time that allow us to travel faster than light. It's basic physics. Basic physics, Engineer Vox-8's voice rose in pitch. Its voice rose in... Our scientists have theorized about space-time manipulation for centuries, but we've never been able to make it work. Really? Lisa seemed genuinely surprised. We've been using quantum drives for over 50 years. They're completely reliable. Would you like me to explain how they work? Engineer Vox-8 nodded eagerly. Lisa activated a holographic display that showed the inner workings of the quantum drive. The Imperial engineer watched in fascination as she explained concepts that his civilization had never mastered. The key is understanding that space and time are not separate things, Lisa said. They're part of the same fabric. When you learn to manipulate that fabric, you can do incredible things. But the energy requirements must be enormous, Engineer Vox-8 said. Not really. Once you understand the principles, it's quite efficient. We can maintain faster-than-light travel for months without refueling. In another part of the ship, Dr. Tony Garcia was showing Imperial Science Officer Z5 around the ship's laboratory. The human physicist was excited to meet another scientist, even if they came from a completely different civilization. This is our terraforming research station, Dr. Garcia said, gesturing to a complex array of equipment. We use it to study planetary atmospheres and ecosystems. Terraforming? Science Officer Z5 asked. You mean the theoretical process of changing a planet's environment? Theoretical? Dr. Garcia laughed. We've terraformed over 200 worlds. It's one of our standard colonization techniques. Science Officer Z5 stared at the equipment with wide eyes. 200 worlds? How is that possible? Well, it takes time and patience. First, you analyze the planet's existing atmosphere and geology. Then you introduce carefully designed organisms that can survive in the current environment while gradually changing it. Over time, the planet becomes suitable for human life. But the complexity, the number of variables, the potential for ecological disaster. That's why we're careful, Dr. Garcia said. We run millions of computer simulations before we start any terraforming project. Our artificial intelligence systems help us predict how different changes will affect the entire planetary ecosystem. Artificial intelligence? Science Officer Z5's voice was barely a whisper. You have artificial intelligence? Of course. How else would you manage the data processing requirements for terraforming an entire world? Back on Imperial Command Central, Admiral Thex Prime was meeting with the Empire's top military advisors. The reports from the Pathfinder were arriving every few hours, and each one was more disturbing than the last. They're treating impossible technologies as routine, Chief Military Scientist Rex 9 reported. Space-time manipulation, planetary terraforming, artificial intelligence systems. These are all theoretical concepts that our best researchers have been working on for centuries. And they've mastered all of them? Admiral Thex Prime asked. Apparently. But that's not the most concerning part. What is? They're completely casual about it. Engineer Chen discussed space-time manipulation like she was talking about changing a light bulb. Dr. Garcia mentioned terraforming 200 worlds like it was a minor accomplishment. General Mech 7 leaned forward in his chair. Admiral, if they can terraform planets at will, they can colonize anywhere in the galaxy. They don't need our trade routes or our infrastructure. They're completely independent. And if they have artificial intelligence systems, added Intelligence Chief Nex 4, they can process information and make decisions faster than any biological species. They could outthink us in any conflict. Admiral Thex Prime stood up and walked to the window overlooking the capital world. The sight that had always filled him with pride now seemed fragile and vulnerable. What do we know about their military capabilities? He asked. Very little, General Mech 7 replied. They've been careful not to reveal any information about their weapons or defenses. But if their civilian technology is this advanced, their military systems must be equally impressive. Have they made any territorial claims or demands? No, sir. They continue to insist that they're explorers seeking peaceful contact, but their very existence threatens the stability of the Empire. Admiral Thex Prime turned back to his advisors. How so? Sir, Intelligence Chief Nex 4 said, the Empire's authority rests on the belief that we are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. For 2,000 years, we've maintained order through superior technology and military might. If word spreads that there's a civilization with capabilities far beyond our own, it could encourage rebellion in the outer systems. And if they decide to expand their territory, General Mech 7 added, there's nothing we could do to stop them. The meeting continued for several more hours as the Imperial leadership tried to understand the implications of humanity's existence. Every scenario they considered ended with the same conclusion. The Empire's position as the galaxy's dominant power was no longer secure. As the day ended, Admiral Thex Prime made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He activated his personal communicator and sent a message to Emperor Zex Prime himself. Your Majesty, we have a situation that requires your immediate attention. The humans represent a threat to Imperial authority unlike anything we have faced before. I request permission to mobilize the First Fleet. The response came within minutes. Permission granted. Take whatever action is necessary to protect the Empire. Admiral Thex Prime looked out at the stars one more time. Emperor Zex Prime had ruled the Galactic Empire for over a century. In all that time, he had never felt the cold touch of fear that now gripped his hearts. He stood in the Imperial throne room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the deployment of the First Fleet, while his advisors briefed him on the human situation. 50 dreadnoughts, Your Majesty, Admiral Thex Prime reported via secure transmission. The most powerful fleet ever assembled in Imperial history. We should reach the human vessel within 6 hours. And you believe this will be sufficient? Emperor Zex Prime asked. Your Majesty, no civilization has ever withstood the First Fleet. The combined firepower of these ships can destroy entire star systems. One small exploration vessel, regardless of its technology, cannot stand against such force. Emperor Zex Prime was not convinced. The reports about human technology had deeply disturbed him. A species that could manipulate space-time and terraform worlds at will was not to be underestimated. But the Empire's survival might depend on demonstrating strength now, before other civilizations learned about these humans and began to question Imperial authority. Proceed with the operation, Emperor Zex Prime ordered. But remember, we seek submission, not destruction. These humans may be useful if they can be controlled. Aboard the Pathfinder, Captain Morrison was having a very different conversation. His quantum communication system had activated during the night shift, bringing orders directly from Earth Command. Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared as a hologram. In his private quarters, her expression serious and urgent. Jake, the situation has changed, Admiral Hayes said. We've been monitoring Imperial communications, and they're mobilizing a massive fleet to intimidate you into surrender. Captain Morrison sat up straighter. How massive? 50 of their largest warships. They're calling it the First Fleet. According to our intelligence, it's the biggest military force the Empire has ever assembled. Admiral, the Pathfinder is an exploration vessel. We have defensive systems, but we're not equipped for a major battle. Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. That's why I'm authorizing you to reveal the truth about our presence in this galaxy. It's time these Imperials learned that they're not dealing with a single lost ship. Ma'am? Jake, the Pathfinder was never alone out there. Operation Deep. Survey has been running for 15 years. We have assets throughout this galaxy that the Empire knows nothing about. Captain Morrison felt his pulse quicken. Operation Deep Survey was one of Earth's most classified programs. He knew it existed, but few people knew the details. How many assets, Admiral? Enough to change the balance of power in this galaxy permanently. Commander Ryan Blake will brief you on the details. He's been running deep survey operations in this sector for 3 years. The hologram flickered and changed to show a man in his 40s wearing the black uniform of Earth's Intelligence Division. Captain Morrison recognized the name Ryan Blake from classified briefings, but had never met him in person. Captain Morrison, Commander Blake said, it's time you learned what Earth has really been doing out here. I'm listening. The Empire believes they control this galaxy, but they've been ignoring huge sections of space that they consider worthless. Dead systems, asteroid fields, nebulae that interfere with their sensors. We've been using those areas to establish hidden bases and observation posts. For what purpose? Intelligence gathering primarily. We needed to understand the political and military situation before making formal contact. What we learned was disturbing. The Empire rules through fear and intimidation. They've stagnated technologically because they've had no real competition for centuries. Commander Blake activated a star map that showed the local region of space. Dozens of red dots appeared in systems that the Imperial charts marked as empty or uninhabited. Each of those dots represents a human installation, Blake explained. Research stations, supply depots, monitoring posts, and yes, some military facilities. The Empire has been watched and studied for over a decade. Captain Morrison stared at the map. How many people are we talking about? Over 50,000 Earth personnel spread across 200 locations, and that's just in this sector. Similar operations are running in 12 other regions of the galaxy. My God. We've essentially colonized Imperial space without them knowing. That's correct. And now that they're mobilizing against you, it's time to show them what they're really dealing with. The conversation continued for another hour, as Commander Blake explained the scope of Earth's hidden presence in the galaxy. By the time the call ended, Captain Morrison understood that the Pathfinder's encounter with the Empire was not an accident. It was the beginning of a carefully planned revelation that would reshape galactic politics forever. 6 hours later, the Imperial First Fleet dropped out of hyperspace around the Pathfinder's position. Emperor Zex Prime himself commanded the operation from the bridge of the Super Dreadnought Eternal Dominion, the largest and most powerful warship ever built. There it is, Admiral Zex Prime said, pointing to the small human vessel on the main screen. It looks so insignificant compared to our fleet. Emperor Zex Prime studied the Pathfinder through the bridge's main view screen. The human ship hung in space like a dark jewel, showing no signs of fear or preparation for battle. 50 Imperial dreadnoughts surrounded it in a perfect sphere formation, their weapons trained on the tiny vessel. Open a channel, Emperor Zex Prime ordered. The communications officer activated the transmission system. Channel open, Your Majesty. Human vessel Pathfinder, this is Emperor Zex Prime of the Galactic Empire. You are surrounded by the First Fleet, the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Surrender immediately and submit to Imperial authority. You have 1 hour to comply. The response came within minutes. Captain Morrison's voice was calm and steady, showing no trace of fear or panic. Emperor Zex Prime, this is Captain Morrison of the United Earth Service. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. The Pathfinder does not recognize Imperial authority over human vessels or human space. We suggest you reconsider your approach. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell, silent. In 2,000 years of Imperial history, no one had ever refused a direct order from the Emperor while surrounded by the First Fleet. Captain Morrison, Emperor Zex Prime said, his voice heavy with menace. You are one small ship against 50 dreadnoughts. Do not test our patience, Your Majesty, Captain Morrison replied. I think you're the one who doesn't understand the situation. As if responding to some unseen signal, the space around the Imperial fleet began to shimmer and distort. What had appeared to be empty space suddenly revealed itself to be filled with ships. Dozens of human vessels decloaked simultaneously, their stealth systems disengaging to reveal a fleet that had been invisible to Imperial sensors. Emperor Zex Prime watched, in shock as sleek human warships materialized in perfect formation around his fleet. The ships were smaller than Imperial dreadnoughts, but they moved with impossible grace and speed. Their hulls gleamed with the same adaptive material as the Pathfinder, and energy readings showed power levels that rivaled the largest Imperial vessels. Impossible, Admiral Zex Prime whispered. Our sensors showed nothing. How could an entire fleet be hidden from us? Captain Linda Evans of the UES Guardian was the first to speak for the human fleet. Emperor Zex Prime, this is Captain Evans. As you can see, the Pathfinder was never alone. Earth has been monitoring your empire for quite some time. More human. Commanders joined the communication channel. Admiral Jeff Collins of the UES Defender, Captain David Turner of the UES Liberator, Commander Sarah Price of the UES Vigilant. Each ship announced its presence with calm professionalism, as if revealing, Hidden Fleets was a routine operation. How many ships? Emperor Zex Prime demanded. Enough, Captain Morrison replied. Your Majesty, Earth doesn't seek conflict with the Empire, but we will not submit to alien authority. We propose a peaceful solution to this situation. Emperor, Zex Prime looked around his bridge. His officers stared at the tactical displays with expressions of shock and confusion. The Imperial fleet was completely surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. Every tactical advantage they had possessed moments before had evaporated. What kind of peaceful solution? Emperor Zex Prime asked, though his voice had lost much of its earlier confidence. Formal diplomatic relations between equals, Captain Morrison said. Recognition of human sovereignty over our territorial claims. Establishment of trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. The galaxy is large enough for both our civilizations. And if we refuse? There was a long pause before Captain Morrison answered. Your Majesty, we hope that won't be necessary, but Earth is prepared to defend its interests and its people. To demonstrate their capabilities, the human fleet performed a series of maneuvers that left the Imperial officers speechless. Ships moved in perfect coordination at speeds that should have been impossible. They phased in and out of visibility, demonstrating stealth technology that made them undetectable to Imperial sensors. Most impressively, several human vessels created controlled spatial distortions that moved small asteroids across thousands of kilometers of space. Terraforming technology, Admiral Zex Prime said quietly. They're using their planetary engineering systems as weapons. The negotiations took place on a neutral space station that the humans constructed in less than 12 hours. Emperor Zex Prime watched through the viewports of his shuttle as human engineering ships assembled the massive structure from materials that seemed to appear from nowhere. The speed and efficiency of the construction process was another reminder of how far behind Imperial technology had fallen. Dr. Sandra Kim, Earth's chief diplomatic officer, met the Imperial delegation at the airlock. She was a small woman with graying hair and kind eyes, but Emperor Zex Prime could sense the intelligence and determination behind her friendly smile. Your Majesty, Dr. Kim said with a slight bow. Welcome to Harmony Station. We hope this will be the beginning of a peaceful relationship between our civilizations. The space station's interior was unlike anything the Imperial delegation had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living light that shifted and changed colors as they walked. The gravity felt perfectly natural, though Emperor Zex Prime could detect no generators or artificial gravity systems. Even the air tasted fresh and clean, as if they were walking through a forest rather than a mechanical structure. How did you build this so quickly? Emperor Zex Prime asked. We use programmable matter, Dr. Kim explained. The raw materials reorganize themselves according to our specifications. It's much faster than traditional construction methods. They entered a large conference room where Captain Morrison and several other human officials were waiting. The room had a large window that showed both fleets holding their positions in space. The sight served as a reminder to everyone present of what was at stake. Your Majesty, Captain Morrison said, standing as the Imperial delegation entered. Thank you for agreeing to these talks. Emperor Zex Prime took his seat at the negotiating table. Captain Morrison, before we begin, I must ask a direct question. How long have your people been watching us? Dr. Kim activated a holographic display that showed a timeline of human activities in Imperial space. We first detected radio transmissions from your civilization 47 years ago. We began systematic observation 23 years ago. Active intelligence gathering started 15 years ago with Operation Deep Survey. 23 years, Emperor Zex Prime repeated. You've been studying us for over 2 decades without our knowledge. Yes, Dr. Kim said simply. We needed to understand your civilization before making contact. Earth has learned from history that first contact between civilizations can go very badly if both sides don't understand each other. And what did you learn about us? Dr. Kim hesitated for a moment, then decided on honesty. We learned that the Empire rules through fear and superior technology. We learned that you've conquered thousands of worlds and enslaved millions of beings. We also learned that your society has become stagnant because you haven't faced any real challenges for centuries. The Imperial delegation shifted uncomfortably. Admiral Thex Prime started to object, but Emperor Zex Prime raised a hand to stop him. Continue, the Emperor said. We also learned that most Imperial citizens are peaceful people who simply want to live their lives in safety and prosperity. The Empire provides stability and order, even if the methods are sometimes harsh. We don't judge your civilization, Your Majesty. We simply wanted to understand it. Captain Morrison leaned forward. The question now is how our two civilizations can coexist peacefully. Earth has no desire to conquer Imperial territory or interfere with your internal affairs. But we also won't submit to Imperial authority. What exactly are you proposing? Emperor Zex Prime asked. Dr. Kim activated another display showing a map of the galaxy. Large sections were highlighted in blue, representing human territorial claims. Earth claims sovereignty over these regions, Dr. Kim said. Most of them are areas that the Empire considers worthless or uninhabitable. We're willing to acknowledge Imperial authority over your existing territory in exchange for recognition of our claims. Admiral Thex Prime studied the map. Those regions contain hundreds of star systems. Systems that you've ignored for centuries, Captain Morrison pointed out. Dead worlds, asteroid fields, nebulae that interfere with your sensors. We can make those places habitable and productive. How? Terraforming technology, Dr. Kim explained. We can transform barren worlds into garden planets. We can extract resources from asteroid fields and gas giants. We can build habitable space, stations inside nebulae. What's worthless to you is valuable to us. Emperor Zex Prime considered this proposal. The humans were asking for territory that the Empire had never bothered to develop. In exchange, they offered to stay out of Imperial affairs and maintain peaceful relations. What about trade, he asked. We're open to trade agreements, Dr. Kim said. Earth has technologies that could benefit Imperial citizens. Medical advances, agricultural improvements, energy systems. In exchange, we'd be interested in your cultural products, art, literature, music. You're not interested in our technology? Captain Morrison smiled. No offense, Your Majesty, but your technology is several centuries behind ours. However, your civilization has 2,000 years of history and culture that we find fascinating. The negotiations continued for hours. The humans presented detailed proposals for territorial boundaries, trade agreements, and diplomatic protocols. They offered to share certain technologies that could improve life in Imperial space, while keeping their most advanced systems secret. Most importantly, they offered to help the Empire transition to a new role in galactic politics. Instead of ruling through force, the Empire could become a center of trade, culture, and diplomacy. Think of it as an opportunity, Dr. Kim said. For 2,000 years, the Empire has been responsible for maintaining order throughout the galaxy. That's an enormous burden. We're offering to share that responsibility. And if some Imperial worlds choose to join your civilization instead? Admiral Thex Prime asked. Then that's their choice, Captain Morrison said. We believe in self-determination. If Imperial citizens want to leave the Empire and join Earth, we won't stop them. But we also won't encourage rebellion or try to undermine Imperial authority. Emperor Zex Prime was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You realize what you're asking? For 2,000 years, the Empire has been the dominant power in this galaxy. Our entire identity is built on that dominance. Your Majesty, Dr. Kim said gently, dominance based on fear isn't sustainable. Eventually, someone stronger always comes along, but partnerships can last forever. Is that what you're offering? Partnership? Among other things. Earth could help the Empire develop new technologies. We could assist with scientific research, medical advances, engineering projects. We could work together to explore regions of the galaxy that neither of us has visited. And what do you want in return? Peace, Captain Morrison said simply. Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to grow and explore. In exchange, we'll leave the Empire alone to govern your own territory as you see fit." Emperor Zex Prime looked out the window at the two fleets still, facing each other in space. He thought about the choice before him. He could reject the human proposals and risk a war that the Empire might not survive. Or he could accept a new reality where the Empire shared power with another civilization. "There's one more thing," Dr. Kim said. "We should discuss what happens to the rest of the galaxy. There are thousands of civilizations that aren't part of the Empire. Some of them might want to establish relations with Earth. Others might prefer to remain independent." "You're talking about completely restructuring galactic politics," Admiral Thex Prime said. "The galaxy is changing whether we plan for it or not," Captain Morrison replied. "The question is whether we manage that change peacefully or let it happen through conflict." Emperor Zex Prime made his decision. "Very well. The Empire accepts your proposals in principle. We'll need time to work out the details, but we're willing to negotiate a formal treaty." Dr. Kim smiled. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I think this is the beginning of a new era for both our civilizations." The formal Treaty of Harmony Station was signed 3 days later. It established diplomatic relations between Earth and the Empire, recognized territorial boundaries, and created frameworks for trade and cultural exchange. Most importantly, it marked the end of imperial monopoly over galactic affairs. Captain Morrison returned to the Pathfinder as a hero, but he knew the real work was just beginning. Earth and the Empire would need years to build trust and establish working relationships. Other galactic civilizations would need to be contacted and brought into the new order. Emperor Zex Prime returned to the imperial capital to face the difficult task of explaining to his people that they were no longer the galaxy's only superpower. Some imperial citizens were angry about the loss of exclusive dominance. Others were excited about the opportunities that partnership with Earth might bring. Admiral Patricia Hayes received Captain Morrison's final report 6 months later. In it, he wrote, "The galaxy is no longer a simple place where one civilization rules over all others. It's becoming a complex community of different species working together for mutual benefit. Earth has earned its place at the table, not through conquest, but through patient preparation and peaceful negotiation. The galaxy had indeed entered a new era."